and welcome to a new episode of Path to Kingdom. So in today's episode, we are talking about the negativity bias and the impact of negativity. So the problem of negativity bias of the brain is how it can impact your whole life, literally. The negativity bias is a study made by many psychologists and neurologists. One of the major ones that I really like is Dr. Rick Hanson. And the theory, simply put, is that the brain was 5 times more likely to remember the negative events that happened to you more than the positive events. And I saw that was a revelation to me when I first learned it. And as I went and more in the past few years since I read that book in my life, the impact that this understanding had on my psychology, on my emotional well-being, on my mood is incredible. So if the brain is a computer and the computer is 5 times more likely to remember negative events and positive things, and if we have a historical timeline, we discussed this in previous episodes a bit, where I'm looking back at my history and I can see negative, because I'm remembering them. I have to protect myself from them. I have to protect myself from when I embarrassed myself singing, or when I fell down in front of a girl I had a crush on when I was 12, or when someone shouted at me, when someone embarrassed me in front of people, or my father beat me up in front of others. Like, these are events that my brain, we need to avoid them because the feelings that are generated from them are not good. We don't want to experience them, remember them. So I wake up in the morning today, let's say, and I want to go out. And my brain is thinking, okay, the list of things to avoid. Boom, 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 boom. So we call this, Rick Hanson talks about it, and many other psychologists talked about it, is a switch in the amygdala. If my brain is focused on negative things, that means it's in a red switch, meaning it's on survival mode. I'm going out of the house to protect myself. I'm going in survival mission. I'm going to have to go from A to B, but I have to survive the whole time I'm traveling. My stress level, my anxiety, my excitement level, my way of interacting with life is completely different than the other mode. The other mode is when you go and counteract the negativity bias. How do you do this? Neurolinguistic programming, psychology, EMDR, cognitive behavioral therapy, they almost all focus on, hey, let's look at what the picture that is bothering you. Yeah, there's bad here and bad here and bad here and bad here. All bad. 100% we agree. And that's terrible. I'm sorry it happened to you. But let's look a little bit again. Is there any positive in between? Is there other things that are positive? Is it really all black? Or are there other colors in there as well? And now, if I understand this in this mode, let's call it the in-between mode. When I understand this and I go out of my house, I'm not walking around wanting to protect myself, right? I'm going out of my house a bit kind of careful, but also hopeful. And there's a green mode. The mode, we call it the creation mode or creative mode. Now, your brain isn't about protecting itself or surviving. Everything in your psychology changes. Everything in your physiology changes. Even the way you digest food changes. When that green switch is on, your metabolism changes. Your immunity level changes. Your way you read people changes. I remember one day I was in survival mode and I went to a shop in Scotland and I bought something, and on the way out, the guy said a joke, but to me it was like a racist offense. And I said, "What did you say?" And I looked at him with so much aggression. And I'll never forget that look in his face. He just looked like, "Buddy, I was joking." And later when I calmed down and I just sat with myself, I felt a bit of shame, but going back, it's not about the shame. I so could see it was a joke, and it was a funny joke, if I was in my other mode rather than survival mode. The other mode is where everything is different. The way you see colors, the way you hear music, the way you understand points, the way you study, you work, the way you create is different than the survival mode. Obviously now we have a problem. How do we switch from survival mode into creation mode? And the solution is to actually absorption. Our brain is naturally designed to absorb negative things and focus on them and remember them. In fact, we punish ourselves when we forget negative things that happened in the past and it happens to us again. Oh, you idiot. You know what I mean? We need to then counterbalance that. And the way to balance that, your brain is not going to do it for you. You have to do it for you. Something positive happens. I smell flower. Instead of like, nice, keep going. How about you take about 30 seconds to a minute? Think about it. Absorb it. Feel it going all over your body. Remember a bigger picture. You live in a world where there's some plants that are come up, different colors, different shapes, amazing, amazing shapes. And they smell different aromas. They can smell really amazing, beautiful things. The combinations of them can even create another flavor altogether. That's a beautiful world to think about. And that, the brain goes, maybe there's something good out there as well. As you do this more and more and more and more with events in your life, your psychology shifts. The way your brain looks at the world is going to be different. Instead of you're trying to push yourself to go forward, but in the programming here, it looks like disasters are going to happen because that's most of the things that the brain remembers are disasters. So you're saying, hey, let's go to a new adventure full of disasters. Yeah. And the brain is going to say, screw you, I'm not going to go there. So you might struggle and fight and push. And we talked about the example. It's like cycling with your brakes on. And it's painful and it's very tiring. How about we balance it out? We put you are responsible. You are the programmer. I mean, the world is a programmer. Your family is a programmer. Your culture, your religion, whatever you believe in, they're all putting programs in there. How about you have a hand in it too? How about you take some control in there and go in and put some programming that actually serves you, that makes you happier, that allows you to understand your partner and your friends and your family and your colleagues in a different way. Maybe they say something wrong, but instead of us lashing back at them, we look at their resources at that time. We can say, this person hasn't yet learned how to balance themselves in the positives and negatives. For them, they are surviving and they're lashing out at any threat. And I used to be like this. And sometimes I'm like this, never perfect. I hope that this small conversation about negativity bias will help you balance yourself out. When we talk about the path to kingdom, when we're talking about creating the kingdom, and we spoke in last episode about the 80-20 rule, that it's 20% mechanics, the map, how to get there, but 80% is psychology. And then the question is, well, how can I get the 80% right? The 20% will come. If I get the 80% right, I'm 80% there. And it's about psychology. Balance yourself out. I'll give you this example about eye movement desensitization resonance. This is a therapy, a form of psychological therapy, and it's called EMDR. And I told you abbreviations. And basically, the EMDR, the way it works, is that it allows you to kind of go in a state of dream while you're awake and go visit past events and certain things that traumatize you. So if you're feeling anger a lot, you go to a therapist and you say, I feel angry. And they say, when you felt angry last time, and they trace back, because anger is an original feeling that happened at a certain time in your life. And now all the events that came later just triggered it over and again, right? So they trace you back in that state of dream back to it. And the beautiful thing about it, about EMDR, is that now you go back to an event that caused you to be angry or traumatized or hurt, but you are not the child or the victim anymore. You are in a safe place. You are the adult. You are the empowered person, and you are the wise person, and you are the balanced person. So you go back to that event and you look at it and you see different people. I remember when our parents, my brother and I, abandoned us, both of them. And it was one of the most painful things all my life until I went to EMDR. And in EMDR, I visited that situation, me and the therapist, and I realized how painful it was for them as well. They didn't have the resources to do any better. My father didn't have any resources not to beat us up or to throw us out. He couldn't. My mother tried so much to take care of me and my brother on her own. But she got to a point and it broke. I didn't understand this as a child. All I could see is the pain. But then when I visited it again, I could see her world and I could balance out my negativity bias. I could see other positive things that happened before and even positive things that happened after. And that event is painful. It affected me and it's a scar. Maybe the scar will never go away, but it doesn't hurt as much anymore and doesn't control my life anymore. Not as much. And I hope that this will have some value added to you today. And until next episode, stay royal.